Welcome back, everyone, to another Coach Blaker video. This is part 2 of Dev Chat. Today, we're looking at player behavior. If you don't know who I am, my name is Coach Blaker. I've been professionally coaching for 10 years, Diamond in all roles, Diamond 2 peak. I'm going to be looking at these chats and giving my personal thoughts and opinions on them. So, without further ado, there's not really much to say, right? Let's just hop into it. If you guys haven't seen part 1, it's uploaded. If you guys haven't seen part 3, it's uploaded too. There's a playlist below. I haven't recorded part 3. That's, but it's going to be up when I put this up, okay? Let me just say that. But let's get started. It's good to have you guys. Let's do it. I'm hyped.
Hi, I'm Wes Hart, Head of Player Dynamics here at Riot.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm the head of the Behavioral Systems team on League of Legends.
What better way to start off a new year than to talk about player behavior?
True.
This topic is never easy to talk about. Unfortunately, we've seen over the last several years that there's been really negative trends in how our players are feeling about player behavior. There's definitely a lot more work to do, and I will say that again and again.
Just to speak a little bit for the greater we.
Okay, if you guys don't know, I'm going to be pausing. So if you guys haven't watched the video, go to Riot's channel. I want to discuss player behavior real quick. There's a fine line between player behavior as in something that is going to hinder you from winning. And then there's a difference between player behavior that is very annoying to deal with, okay? So things that are going to prevent you from winning are things like someone trolling or someone following you. Well, I guess trolling is the same thing as following you around, doing nothing. Someone AFK, someone just really not trying to play the game. That is a behavior that doesn't happen every game. It's kind of uncommon, but it happens. Then you have the other behavior where they're flaming and they're raging, and it might look like they're not playing, but they realistically are playing the game. They're just really frustrated while they're playing. See what I'm saying? So there's a difference. The one that I think they should attack the most, because it happens every game, is the behavior of being toxic, the behavior of flaming and raging, because it gives you a persona that person doesn't want to play anymore. But it's not true. They still want to play. And EUW is a good example. Their server is very toxic, but those are players that will play while they're being toxic. You know what I'm saying? So there's a big difference between the two. I just wanted to explain that before they started to hop into the behavior, because a lot of players feel like, oh, well, I'm losing games because of people in the community and all that extra good stuff. But usually that's not what's causing you to lose games. It's your personal play. So, you can just mute the person, mute the pings, go on about your business. But people tend to let that bleed into the players that are costing them games. So I just want, and this is just me being a coach for 10 years. I've had students say that. I look at their games, and even though people are flaming and whatnot, they're still trying to win, and there's still a possibility to win. So I'm just saying, there's a fine line between the two before we get started.
Because we have your team. It's doing amazing work. We have Central Player Dynamics working on the game agnostic systems, and there's a good partnership there. There's social and player dynamics over on Valorant. So we've got all these folks that are working together and thinking in this space. What has your team been working on? What has made maybe the biggest impact as far as we can tell so far?
One of the big things that we released is an auto mute feature, which automatically mutes players using inappropriate language in-game when it happens. And so that message will not be sent, and players will be notified that those players have been muted. And we saw really, really positive player feedback from that, which was super exciting. We know that verbal abuse leads to this spiral of negativity that causes even more disruption in game. So we've partnered with your team, who own a really robust verbal abuse detection.
You see, she said the same thing. She was talking about that toxic behavior that ruins the experience, not the ones that cost you to lose your games. They even know, that's their main focus, because this one, the system can detect and will get them out of there. This one is harder to detect because people can be creative with their words. People can, say things that they shouldn't be saying and really get under your skin and really make you play worse, or your whole team play worse, or even affect the enemy team. And now you guys are going into another game and affecting the other team. That's one of the studies that Riot has done in the past, and I've looked at it. It's a long time ago, but pretty much what they would have is a toxic game. One of the players that maybe had a bad day would go and be toxic. It'd make a couple of those other people in that game be toxic, and then they would go to their next game and it would spread again, and it's like a disease, it would just keep spreading. And so that is something that does happen You could be the nicest person in real life, but if someone gets under your skin, your gameplay is going to start declining. And I think that's a huge problem, because then that starts to spiral into what she just said, just a really, really negative experience playing the game itself. League of Legends is a great game, but the player base is the issue here. So
software. And that has just leveled up our ability to make these places safer.
One thing that we knew from research was that the quicker you take, action on a behavior, like a problem behavior, the more effective it's going to be.
Right.
So this is more visible, but have there been other things that maybe just kind of flew under the radar that didn't get noticed because it wasn't so visible?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen our players talk about a lot is intentional feeding. And that is one of the most frustrating behaviors that we see in game.
But one of the challenges with intentional feeding is the whole intentional part.
Right, exactly.
Like, how do you detect intent? And we know from all kinds of social science that in lieu of knowing someone's intent, we assume it. And so, that's tough. That isn't to say, by the way, the players are wrong.
Yeah.
Right? They may be seeing it, but if we're going to automatically detect it, we have to have a certain level of confidence that it's actually happening.
Right.
We built a whole new model over the last year, making our intentional feeding detection a lot more robust. We've been able to increase the amount of detections by over 200%.
Ooh, okay.
And have specific thresholds and levels for different MMRs, basing it on skill because we can identify how different players play our games. A number of the other features we released that weren't so visible to our players but have made impact are things like champion select reporting. So when players are in champion select and they come across disruptive behavior, we're able to action on those reports and really make that experience better.
I suppose it inspires a thought then. So
Wait, did you just report someone for no reason?
But it's important to recognize that because we might be addressing the wrong problem, right? We might be seeing a symptom. For instance, like intentional feeding, no excuses, right? But sometimes they might just be an outcome of other things that have happened.
Absolutely.
Right.
We've seen that with, it can happen if you don't get to play the role that you want, or even have a bad day. It might not even have anything to do with the game, but what happens in life happens in games, so you bring it in.
What we're finding is it's actually 95% of our players are only occasionally disruptive. They contribute to over 80% of the reports in our games, which means the vast majority of disruptive behaviors are done by all of us, you and me. We get tilted in games.
Indeed we do.
And we exhibit these behaviors too. So we've found that it's not just about that one approach of punishing all those really disruptive players. It's about that holistic approach where we can identify, yes, there are some players who we do want to remove out of our ecosystem, but the large majority of us are actually really positive. And
I told you, like, that's literally it. It's like, it's like the amount of toxicity where it's like they're game ruining is very slim, because it doesn't happen that often. It happens, don't get me wrong, but those are selective individuals. Those are people that are probably on Smurf accounts. Those are people who are probably already like banned and things like that. Like those are the negative, like the small percent, like she was saying. But the just the flame and the toxic and the saying stuff like that, that can happen to anybody. As he was saying, things happen in life, and then you come play and you just get upset. But then again, when that happens, some people in your game might also get upset, and then they bring it to other games. And so, yeah, as much as people say, well, the whole community's toxic, she's right. It's you and me. It's everybody in this together. If the community, quote unquote, is toxic, that's because we're all making it toxic. It's not just one or two people, and then you just have it every game. Right? I've seen some streamers who have been toxic, but they always say, dude, this game is so toxic. But then you see them typing stuff, you see them getting mad. And it could be something as simple as just a little bit of flame. It doesn't have to be anything like crazy, like, F you, you suck, blah, blah, blah. It could be something as simple like, bro, why did you do that? Yeah, but you're wrong. And then it just keeps going, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be negative. But the experience itself, you don't have to talk about that. Continue to play the game, continue about moving forward, and that makes the game better. There was a game I was playing yesterday, and I like flashed because I thought I had Ghost, and I started to be flamed, and I was like, what? And then I went top for a gank, and then the laner died, and he was like, GG, my lane's over, our jungler's effing trash. And it's just like, you died, not me. And then I proceeded to get fed. So did he. And I think our mid laner decided, we got them fed too. So we started to stomp. The thing is, though, like that exchange, if I was probably a person that was easily, flipped, I guess, easily impacted by words. I mean, I muted him in his pings like that. But some people don't mute him. And if you're constantly being berated, you're either going to play worse, or you're going to influence your decision making on what people are saying to you, or you're going to fight back. And again, does that make you a toxic player? No, you're just responding to a situation. So in that case, would Riot want, like, would you be removed? Like, would you really want to be removed because all you're doing is responding? No. So again, there's a lot of saying like, oh, the game is toxic and whatnot, but it's everybody. It's how we react, right? We can't control what people do, but we can control how we react to it. And so that's something that's huge. If you do have that issue, mute the pings, mute the chat, continue to play your game. You don't need your pings and you don't need your chat to play the game. It's very, very easy to win games without those things, especially when it's not a game that's that long anyway. So, yeah, it's definitely just something to think about there. The game is great, but, we have to work together to keep the game on point. Our mid laner that game was very solid mental, very happy, very positive, and it kept the flow of the game a lot smoother, and it kept everybody happy. We were cracking jokes, and we ended up closing the game out. All because I muted that Garen player. You just got to move forward. And I already know that things like that happen, and it affects your decision making because I've been coaching for 10 years. Well, a little bit more than 10 years, but in terms of, getting paid and having my side and, things like that. It's been 10 years. And that is a trend that I'll see for every role and every champion. They'll start getting flamed and they'll start playing different. Or they'll say, well, I don't want to do that, even though it's the right thing. Well, I don't want to do that because I'm going to get it flamed and I don't want to get flamed. And that you shouldn't have fear of doing what you want to do to win the game because you're going to get flamed. And that's what needs to be fixed. That was a very long explanation. I'm sorry if you guys clicked out of the video. I lost a couple of y'all, but I really wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on this stuff. So it is a little bit of a long-winded explanation, but I definitely do think that needs to be fixed as a community as a whole, and not just Riot saying you're banned, you're banned, you're banned, because then they'll have no player base because it's everybody doing it, whether or not they're toxic all the time or sometimes.
And we want to be able to build features where we can celebrate that.
Quite often when we talk about the player dynamics space, we're describing it as we want to make it safe to be social and more rewarding online for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the really great things that we've done over the last year to target that population is really building on our honor system. So we increased the rewards significantly with a new skin that is phenomenal. I hope you all have it.
No bias whatsoever.
No bias. On a Recall VFX as well, where our players can really showcase their honor in-game, even if they don't necessarily play with that champion, play with that skin.
We make games. We're not trying to police.
The issues with the honor system right now is that people honor for the wrong reasons. If you got a lot of kills, you're honored. If you have a duo, you're honored. If the game ends and you're playing support, you're honored. Like, not a lot of people honor for the right reasons. And so I do think that maybe the system should give you more points based on how many honors you get in a row, because then that will signify, okay, you're actually worth being honored. It's not just one of those one-off games. But I mean, again, supports get honored quite frequently. I'm pretty sure if they looked at the metrics, they'd see support got honored like most of the time, if not almost all the time. And that is just because support is one of the roles that you typically don't really get angry at that often, and they do a good job helping because they always help you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, as a top laner, you're probably not getting honored unless you're like massive. As a mid laner, you're not getting really honored unless you roam a lot or make some good plays. Jungle and support are typically the ones to get honored. Jungle, you'll get honored if you're ganking everybody. Support, you'll just get honored for, like, I don't know. There's got to be a way to make it better, because right now, other than the skins and the extra goodies, it just feels like everybody could be honored. Everybody could be honored 5, and that doesn't really say anything, because I've seen toxic honored 5 players. So I don't think that's helping as much as they think it is.
This space, we want these to be great game experiences. So we're figuring out what our role is. Like, when I look back on League, it's not what we made that I remember. It's those great esports moments, right? Or it's the teams that were playing and the audiences. They got so excited about this. That's, we can really come together and do something. Those kinds of moments. Just cosplayers, Like the
Oh, those were
creativity, how
good.
they bring the world that we put into our games to life, it's incredible. And so when we think about community's involvement, like, yes, we know we're going to need to deal with the negative stuff. Reducing bad does not create more good, any more than reducing sodium in your diet doesn't make our food more nutritious. So we got to do both, because otherwise we're kind of aiming for neutral.
Right.
And that's not why any of us come to games. I mean, anybody who's played League to any extent knows that there's a high mastery curve, right? And you're never done. But it's that possibility, right, that brings us to this. I mean, we see that in our games. It's what we all share in this culture.
I do like that, and I like the way that he's saying it. Unfortunately, that's not how a lot of players behave. And at being a coach, I know this. A lot of players don't look at League of Legends like that. A lot of players feel like they're done, and then they should be rewarded with the higher rank. And so what they're going to do is continue to queue and queue and queue and queue and queue, and to continue to be there for 100 games, 200 games, 300 games, 400, thousands, 2,000s, and they're not going anywhere. And they're just banging their head against the same spot over and over, maybe being gold 450 LP, going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, silver, same thing. And there is a mastery curve, but not a lot of players look at it like that. And so I don't really know how Riot could do this and if it's even possible, but to have a way to let players know that there's a high mastery curve and you're not getting rewarded unless you play better would be huge. Because right now you can get rewarded for playing horrible, and you can play really well and just not get rewarded at all. And so there's no incentive to do better in players that are lower ranks, because in lower ranks it feels like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter how I play, it's just a team diff. I just got a dice roll. You know what? I'm just gonna play autofill, and then I'm just gonna whatever dice roll, and then I'll win based off of that. Whereas games like Valorant, it's more, you can tell your skill's not up to par. You could tell you need to get better, and you could tell when you do get better, it impacts. Right? League of Legends, it's hard to tell when you need to improve. It's hard to tell how to improve, and it's hard to tell when it works. The only real way you know it works is if you win, but even then, sometimes you can play better. And I've had students that played really well, but at the end of their games, I'm like, so how do you feel about that game? And they're like, well, I felt like I didn't really do much. And then I have to go through the replay and point out why they impacted the game. That shouldn't be my job, right? Riot should have metrics like this to tell you you're not doing well. You are doing well. The only thing that I've noticed with their metrics are like vision scores, damage numbers, which damage doesn't mean anything. So if you guys are ending games and you're saying, well, I did the most damage, it doesn't matter. That doesn't really equate to anything other than you had the most damage and you lost the game. What were you using your damage on? But things like the gold that they accrued, the CS numbers, like that is cool. But none of that actually impacts your game, because you're not really told how, right? You're not told, well, gold gives you more items, and then the items help you team fight better. And if you are team fighting poorly, the game's like, oh, you team fought poorly. That's not how it works. Like, it doesn't teach you that, right? And so they need to do something to make players see the game actually has that mastery curve. And this used to be the case a long time ago, when I first started coaching, where players knew that. And so, a lot of students would come to me and, they'd be ready to like learn, and people in the game would be more receptive to like criticism, well, constructive criticism, oh, you should have done that. And they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Things like that. It might not seem like it, but they were more receptive to it. Whereas today, everybody in every game, in every stream, my team just sucks, that's why I lost. Oh, if my team was better, this, that. And if you ask the average league person, they're going to say, well, I just need to improve. But like deep down when they play, they don't think like that. Because if they did, they would get help from somebody. They would be looking at their own replays. They would, do all that. Speaking of which, if you want help, CoachBlanket.com is where you want to go. I don't know if you know, but I've been coaching for 10 years, and so, I can help you out. You're probably like, where did that come from? I don't know. I just kind of thought of it right now. I didn't really plan on doing that, but that is something. A lot of the times players know that they need to get better. Players know that they're not good enough, and they just continue to just be bad. And that's because Riot doesn't tell them that they're bad. It's hard to know that you're bad. And if they do have a bad KDA, well, that's obvious. And they just feel like, oh, it's just one of those games where I died this much because of this. And if they lose and they have a lot of kills, we only lost because the team sucks. Again, I've seen that in a lot of my students. So I definitely think that they just need a better job of showcasing, like, you're bad, bro. This is why you're bad. You could have easily done this. There you go. This is what you need to improve on. And then when they come to us as coaches, we can help them improve on that. My job as a coach is doing what Riot System doesn't do. And a lot of students do have a lot of students do have an idea of what they need to work on, but a lot of the times they don't really know the broader picture. So when they come to me, they have an idea, and then when I see them play or I look at the replay and we go over that stuff together, we start realizing there's little other things that they could easily fix like that, and that would skyrocket their rank. So, and then when they do fix it, it does skyrocket their rank. So again, that should be Riot's job, so that way players have a better time learning, and they don't have to see coaches if they want to improve faster, if they want to climb faster, they can kind of do it on their own. Right now, it's a very slow pace. Like I said, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 1,000, 2,000 games in the same spot, and people just don't care. And it's like, well, why are you playing ranked? That's the whole point, is to get better. But if we're always thinking about how, dice roll, coin flip, my team sucks, blah, 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 you're never going to get better. Whereas Valorant has a way better, structure of teaching you, this is why, this is why, this is why. So I just think that they should get something like that.
It's like, yeah, we come for the possibility.
We've redefined what it means to be a sport, even. I don't see why we can't redefine what it means to be an online community.
What are your thoughts about what's next?
So we're so excited for 2023. There's so many learnings that we can pull from. Things like the feedback loop with our players. So players really seeing in that moment, what was the behavior that caused the disruption, and taking action on that immediately or as soon as possible, so players understand where we define what the behavioral expectations are in game. Having ways for our players to contribute to those expectations and really appreciating them for when they do so. Because as you said, it's a co-created community, it's a co-created space. We want our players to be able to contribute as much as possible to making it a community that we're all really proud to be a part of. My dream is to have League be a place where people aren't only coming for the pinnacle of competition, where they're also coming for the community, and a place where we are all wanting to contribute to this community, and we're proud to. And we're also proud to invite our friends and our family and everyone we love to this great community.
I can't think of a better theme to start off a new year than possibility. And so I suppose with that in mind, I want to thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you listening.
We can't wait to continue this conversation with you all. Stay honorable out there.
That is true. A lot of the times when people say, should I play League of Legends? Should I get into it? A lot of people say no. And League community is very meme oriented. We like to just joke around, and we like to poke fun, and we like to do all that good stuff. And so someone coming into it might not get that. But a lot of the times when they say you should come in, again, the game is great. This is why we play it. A lot of people think, we're addicted, and Riot has some addicting thing that they do to make us play over and over. No. The game is good. That's why you're playing the game. It had nothing to do with Riot addicting you to do it. It's just a good game. Whenever you play something good, you come back to it. Whenever you do something good, you go back to it. It's not about it being addicted, and it's not about them not rewarding you for playing well. Again, they don't show you why you're not playing well. They just expect you to know. You lost your game. You played. What do you think you could have done better? And obviously, Riot doesn't give you those metrics. But I definitely think that the game is great, and she's right. It would be great to have the community be like, we come in and we say, family, brother, sister, mom, dad, let's play it. It's fun. It has great champions, which it does, and people are very welcoming. Think about other games you play, like Final Fantasy XIV. Although they have some buttholes, people are very welcoming. They'll help you, and things like that, and it's cool. Right? And you guys probably play other games that are just like that. You're willing to help. You're willing to do all that. League doesn't really have that. And I think a lot of the reason being is because it does have that competitive nature. Whereas if you're playing normals, it shouldn't even have that competitive nature. You are playing normals for fun. So I think it's just weird. I don't know how they're going to do that. Again, I think it's because the community, we're just pretty delusional. We think that this person's ruining our game. We think that person's ruining our game, when the people that we think are ruining the games are people that think we're ruining the games, right? And so if they're thinking if we're thinking they're the ruiners, and they think we're the ruiners, where does this get fixed? Where we have to look inside ourselves and be like, we just have to act better, because you have the players that type a lot and they're kind of friendly, but they're not really that. They're friendly, but they're very. They're like nasty with their remarks, right? They might not be aggressive or toxic, but they say a lot of curse words and use a lot of profanity. Then you have the people that are actually like really nice, and they are nice. Those do happen, and you know, we're just chilling. Then you have the people that are nice that don't say anything. Then you have the people that are very competitive that don't say anything. Then you have the people that are competitive that do say things, but they say it in a way where it seems toxic, but they're not really being toxic. And I've had students that way. And so I had to tell them, like, when you type it, type this way. You actually have to type a certain way if you're trying to say something so it doesn't seem toxic. Because it's not about what you're saying, it's about how they're perceiving it. And through typing, unfortunately, you can't tell a tone. So you have to make sure that how you're typing it is not something where it seems aggressive, because then that's what they're going to receive, and then they're going to turn aggressive on you too. So again, perfect world. We wish that it weren't. We wish the community was better. But if you ever play with a Discord community that you're in that plays League of Legends, you'll notice there's a toxic player in there. Whether they're like banned, no, but they are toxic. There's a degree of toxicity in that player, and that isn't in all of us. So that was my final thoughts. I know this was a little bit long-winded, but player behavior is just a very important topic, and that's something that we need to talk about together, because that's something that impacts the fun of the game. That it's something that impacts how the game just functions. And so if we can, cure that, so to speak, as a whole, it'd be a lot easier for our game to be the best, because it's already good gameplay wise, in my opinion. So thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna make part 3. Make sure you check out that playlist, link in the description below. The playlist is going to lead to part 3. And yeah, this is Player Behavior Dev Chat. Peace, late. If you guys are interested in coaching, CoachBucket.com is where you want to go. Of course, it's probably been on the screen somewhere this entire time. Thank you guys for doing what, though? Approaching this like a coach.